If you've seen some of my videos, you might remember me saying that I rarely buy sewing patterns. I typically either use free patterns or, more often, I draft my own. But this is one of those rare moments where I've actually decided to purchase a pattern. I'm going to be making the Wabana backpack by Hammer Stitch Bags. I am really excited about this, both because I think the backpack looks very nice and functional and has some cool features that I'm really excited to sew, and also because I'm going to be using up some fabric that has been sitting in my stash for quite a while. This is a no-buy year for fabric for me, so my plan is to use this denim type fabric that I originally purchased to reupholster the chair that goes with my sewing desk. About 3 years ago, right around the time that I was really starting to get into sewing, I wanted a desk because up until that point I had been working at the kitchen table. And I ended up finding this desk on the side of the road. Somebody was just getting rid of it. And I thought it was perfect for me. The only problem was that the chair was in really bad shape. Someone had clearly already tried to reupholster it and done a really bad job. And then beneath that was the original fabric that came with the chair and the foam, and it was just all quite worn out, a terrible condition. So I ended up tearing all of that off, and I was left with this very thin wooden board that was in the same shape as the seat. I sewed a cover to go over that, and this is what it ended up looking like. I don't know how well I can get it in the shot. But basically, yeah, this is that fabric on the top part. And then beneath that is this cotton muslin that I just used for the part of the chair that nobody sees. So I sewed this up and then slipped it over this wooden part right here. And I actually hand stitched all along the longest seam here. And I stuffed it with the stuffing from a couple of old pillows that nobody was using anymore. So that has been my seat for the last couple of years at my sewing desk, and it has held up really well. So I think this will be a great fabric to make a backpack out of. And I still have a decent amount of this fabric left, so it should be enough. I'm hoping it's enough to make this bag. If this wasn't a no-buy year for fabric, I might have bought something with a nice print on it, kind of like the fabric that they use in these example photos. But I'm really excited to try making a monochromatic version of this bag. I haven't seen anyone do one like that before. I'm also going to be getting creative with hardware and using some things that I already have instead of buying new ones, which might not necessarily be the exact ones that are called for by the pattern. But yeah, this is all about getting creative and using the materials that I have. This is a measure and cut pattern, so I started by measuring out and cutting all of the pieces. Here's where I started getting creative with hardware. Instead of buying a double zipper, I sewed 2 smaller zippers together. This ended up being the perfect size, and it used up zippers that I already had. Here I'm sewing the little strip that covers the part where the zippers meet. By the way, if you've made this pattern, you might notice that I am not following the instructions in the order that they were written. I just started with the part that excited me the most. I really wanted to see how the front pocket panel would look, and I've been sewing long enough that I feel totally comfortable jumping around the instructions like this. It was not necessary to sew anything else before sewing this part. Next, I took some quilting cotton and sewed these strap attachers for the swivel hook. This is instead of the webbing that the pattern calls for. Then it's the really fun step of feeding it through the hardware. I follow the instructions for creating the bag flap. Now I'm doing something a little different. For the straps, because I don't have webbing and I also don't have the larger slider hardware that the pattern calls for, I'm making straps from the main fabric, which start out thicker and then transition to thinner straps made out of quilting cotton for the adjustable part. I then clip the corners and turn them right side out. And this is how my bag is looking so far. I cut out some plain cotton fabric for the lining. And I found this flower print to use for the inner pockets. Finally, I stitched the lining to the outer fabric. And it's time to turn my bag right side out. I finish it off with a line of top stitching around the drawstring channel. And here's how it turned out. I took this bag on a camping trip with me and absolutely loved it. I wore it on all of my hikes and found it to be really comfortable. It's a great size and can fit lots of things inside. I definitely think it was worth it for me to purchase this pattern. I learned some new construction techniques, used up some old fabric, and ultimately ended up with a bag that I really love. I'm also really happy with the modifications that I made to the straps. They still have the functionality of being adjustable, and I think they look nice with the top parts matching the main fabric. I'll show you the inside. The inner pockets are sewn in a unique way that allows them to wrap around the inside of the bag. I hope you enjoyed seeing the process as I sewed this backpack. Let me know in the comments what you think of it, and tell me if there are any other cool bag patterns that you've come across lately. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.